Oh, well, it's to me, it's such an interesting time right now. If we could just say that, use that word only. Yeah, I see all the eye rolls like, yeah, that's a word for it. And I pulled a card yesterday in my horse deck, Linda Cohen off The Way of the Horse. And I haven't, it's so interesting to me. I haven't really pulled this particular card very often, but it felt so like, oh, this is it. So I read it. Let me just kind of read to you a little bit about what it says, because it was so true, like questioning how to manage my own self and how to help other people manage themselves through Reiki in these very interesting times. And so let me read this to you, because what we talk about so often in coming together like community, as community like this, and really empowering our intentions into, our own lives, and to the best we can, still being human, raise our vibrations, care deeply about our own lives, the things we can do to contribute in the way that we can contribute, and what that actually means for each person. So we talk so often about how much this, like raising these vibrations, really makes a difference. And we see it on an individual level, and then we also continually are shown the collective level and the opportunities for collective groups of people to now connect. So here's what this card, I'll hold it back up again. Here's what this card means. And it said, believe, trust in the unknown and the unformed, faith and vision, the authentic self. A lucid gray horse feels the rarefied light of spirit shining through his every move. Call it soul, spirit, or the authentic self, the part of you that accesses fresh ways of seeing and being is also capable of marshaling incredible resources. And so, I'll read this one more part. The creative aspects of consciousness are the hardest to define and pin down. In trying to form a solid, predictable identity, you lose contact with the vital presence of your true self. That's the challenge. So the gift, call it soul, spirit, or the authentic self, the part of you that accesses fresh ways of seeing and being, is also capable of marshaling incredible resources. So it was really helpful for me to read, because it's, the same thing we were talking about with Norma and how one of the gifts of Reiki energy is that it really does help us orient to the resources. It helps us orient to what we might think of as serendipities. Um, it orients us to solutions, and it orients us to, for us in this group, our mantra for all these 5 years, we're almost 5 years that we've been meeting. Our mantra has been stay stable, be kind. And sometimes when that's like, okay, what does that actually mean? And how do I do that? It's like, okay, just come back to the mantra and let the Reiki energy help with that. So Robin, back in January, really received guidance that we need to go back to remembering the dreams we want to manifest in our life. And I was very surprised by that for me because I've always been a dreamer and I've always had vision, like this is where I'm going, this is what I'm heading towards. And I realized until she said that it's not that I didn't have them, I just hadn't focused on them or given them any attention for really a long time. And I think because of, go back to pre-pandemic and then pandemic, it's probably one of the effects of the pandemic, not knowing, things were, I mean, they're always unpredictable, but that became really unpredictable. So bringing them back, and so what we've been doing is going through areas in your life and identifying again what your dreams are in those areas of your life. So we started with, what are your dreams for your spiritual life? What are your dreams for your personal life and your relationships? And this week, we are going to focus our attention on, what are the dreams you want to manifest for your health and your finances? Both of those are really big subjects. And one of the things, again, that we see happening with Reiki energy is, even if we don't receive the answers right now, the energy empowers the question so you can listen, and through continued insight, you receive your answers over time. Maybe today you do hear them all, but it opens it to that inquiry. It opens your curiosity by asking these questions, and also asking them with Reiki energy that takes you deeper into yourself for your answers. Also, the guidance from around you as well. There's guidance that you receive, like the book that Meg talked about, and the different ways, like that, Joe talked about, and Norma. And so anyway, your answers show up in all different ways. So what we are doing here is beginning the inquiry. And Robin, I think next week, maybe I want to remember, because I haven't written it down, but let's work with that, the information you got about asking questions. Yeah, so we need to remember to put it in our notes. Anyway, what we know is asking the question, first of all, takes you deeper into what you want to know. What is it that you actually want to know? What are your questions? But it also opens the door for those questions to have answers. One of the things that I've noticed in myself, and I remember so much in my original training in shamanism and in Reiki, that asking the questions I had was one of the hardest things for me to know what they were. And so I remember having to actively learn how to listen for the questions that I had and formulate them to even ask them. And then when I was in Egypt a year ago, and I was in Sekhmet's temple, and I was, right next to her, she had that particular statue of her has been the same one since the beginning of the temple for her. And I was right with her. And, I was kind of overwhelmed, like, okay, what do I even say? What do I ask? What? And she popped in and she said, listen for the questions you don't know to ask. So I've been in that inquiry, like, okay, there's questions to ask, because that's how, when we are receiving answers either from within ourselves or from external sources, that's how the answers get clarified. So that's what we're going to do today. And yes, ChatGPT is amazing for that. So much fun. So anyway, you're right. So today what we're going to do is look at some of the questions around manifesting your dreams for your health and your finances. Next week, we will also be working on manifesting your dreams for either your job or your business or career, whatever is in that stream. And then we'll be finishing up with this topic on the last week in February. So anyway, before I go into some of that, Robin, do we have announcements or anything we need to make? I guess always.
Well, we are sort of done teaching for this month. For February, we do have our podcast Q&A next week, next Wednesday morning. If you're signed up for the Distance Reiki Share link, or so you'll automatically receive that link. And then in March, we have Animal Reiki 1 and 2, Animal Reiki Master. One thing is that Colleen's teaching in person on the East Coast in May. She's teaching Animal Reiki 1 and 2 at the Omega Institute. So you have to sign up through the Omega Institute. We're getting the link up on our website as we speak. And so you can look for that if you're interested in taking Animal Reiki in person with her. So
we also have the registration open for our Japan classes. William Rand and I teach both a master class and a Corona Reiki class on Mount Kurama in Japan. So that is in the end of October, beginning of November. Okay. All good? Yep. All right. Robin says we're good. All right. So talking about manifesting your dreams for your health, your finances, and some of the blocks. Let's talk about those first, and then we'll talk about the solutions. Fear of failure. What if you don't do it? What if it's not enough? It doesn't meet your expectations. What about, and that can be your health. What about your finances? What does that look like? Sometimes it's actually fear of success and the expectations of who I am if I am in this amazing health and expectations of what that looks like, and what if I have a lot of money and expectations of what that looks like. Sometimes it's limiting beliefs and of I'll never be healthy, or money is hard to earn. Sometimes some of those things are very real and true. Sometimes they're ancestral. Sometimes they're challenges from this lifetime. And sometimes they're very current challenges that, is like a bigger solution than just changing your limiting beliefs. And also allowing for that can happen. And that's part of being human too. And then overwhelm, that can be another thing. Feeling like, do you have the time for everything that you need to do? Overwhelm with life expectations, things that you need to do. Even then, the how to, like the overwhelm of the how to, how do you gain the health if you're having health issues now? Where are the resources? You try everything, and the challenge of it can be overwhelming. Same thing with finances, can be just overwhelming. Sometimes there's just other reasons for like a scarcity mindset. And I think one of the hard things with some of these topics too is feeling like it's not okay to have a scarcity mindset, or if you're spiritual, then you won't have that anymore. And that to me also sometimes just adds more to it all. Like feeling like I have to get this figured out. And why don't I have it figured out? Past conditioning, trauma, real life experiences, external challenges that are very real. Sometimes impatience with results. I want it right now. Ooh. As that one's coming through, I'm like, oh, that might be one I should work on today. Oh, disconnection from intuition, fear of change. But then we think about, how does Reiki actually help in these areas? It can heal your limiting beliefs. Sometimes we don't even know what they are or where they came from. Sometimes they can be vows spoken in another lifetime. So that's where the energy of Reiki can come in and help you heal something that is so completely unknown to you, but has also caused patterns in your life. Sometimes they can even be generated through ancestral history or even a direct lineage history. And I'm going to give an example that I feel is really beneficial to hear about. So I had some neighbors, we haven't lived by them for a long time, but I had some neighbors that I would meet and, run into, and I'd say, "Hey, how's it going?" And they'd say, "Well, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all." And then that was the man of the house, and I asked his wife, "And how's it going?" She said, If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all." And then the kids start saying it. When I ran into the kids, which I did often, they were my kids' ages, and they would say the same thing. And then some of the kids' friends said it. And I was like, look at that, how that actually happens. Now, that probably started even before where I first heard it from my neighbor, probably in his background. Sometimes, though, one of the things when I wrote the article on opinions, on Reiki Heals opinions, one of the things that I learned during that kind of course of study around that topic was sometimes we pick things up that in the moment sound good and we repeat them, and we don't really even know where they came from, and they actually aren't really accurate to our own personal belief. We just grabbed a hold of something and then started repeating it. Sometimes we don't know where they come from, and not even aware that they are being generated from a saying maybe that was repeated throughout your life, a culturally created. It could even be your generation. Well, for sure, generational. We call that your culturally created self. So some of these belief systems, that's what I was talking about, is how does Reiki heal it? Because sometimes these things are so hidden from us. They're just there. We don't know where they came from, how we adopted them. Sometimes that insight will come in and go, "Oh, look, I just thought that, or I said that, or I feel like I know that, or I repeated that." And it takes your attention to it to notice. And then you can actually decide if you're going to keep it, if it's true, or let it go. And sometimes we even decide to just deep dive into it and go for it, because sometimes it's just being human and it feels real at the time, and it is real at the time. And I know for myself, sometimes it's like in addition to it all, now I have to track everything in my mind and keep my mind really good, so on top of everything else. So that's where Reiki can come in and help. And what we talk about with that so much is Reiki on the fly works. And it was such a good comment today about the 10-minute Reiki for medical Reiki, because Reiki on the fly works. And I say that so commonly because another piece with all of this that I used to think I had to take lots of time to accomplish everything with Reiki, like to accomplish that state of mind where I am aware of my limiting beliefs, letting them go, and bringing in like the authentic truth of my health and finances and things. So I learned that just inviting Reiki on the fly, like, and what I mean by that is just think it. If you have time to spend 5 minutes in it, do that. And then when you want to and you can, you do it for longer periods of time, which is what we do here. We come in and we do the journeys that Robin will do on this particular topic for you to inquiry about your manifesting your dreams for your health and your finances. So anyway, the other thing that Reiki does is it can reduce your stress. It can reduce the imbalance of sometimes that overwhelm that comes in, or too much to do, can't do it all, don't want to do it. So Reiki can come in and just improve your inner knowing, sometimes even for a minute. One of the things that I've learned to do for health stuff is, I've learned that even if I don't want to go for a walk, I just go out and go to the end of the street and come back. Like just walk out the door. And all right, I did that. That's healthy. And learning what does that mean, because that's the other thing, is the expectations sometimes can add stress of what does it mean if I'm healthy? What does that look like? Who I am when I'm healthy. And I am healthy, and I'm really glad for it. So thank you, body. Thank you. Be in the gratitude with it. And there's always but I could be even healthier. True confessions. My husband brought home 3 packages of cookies the other day. It's like, man. And, I kept thinking I need to just throw them out, and I didn't. So talk about the deep dive. No, I ate them. So, and now I'm all puffy. And then I have to deal with the guilt, all of that. Could have used Reiki, all of those things. Anyway, so it can help you with those things. It can help you kind of even with then I hear other things and I think, you know what? I really did enjoy the cookies. So that's the part that that is really I could focus on. All right, but I don't want to keep doing that. So the next thing Reiki can help you do is clarify your vision. And I say that because I think our vision so often is expectation, self-expectation, and external expectation. So that's why we go into the journey we're going to do today, can help you get heart-centered, because even though I talk about doing Reiki on the fly, it's also really good to take that time to go within and listen from a deeper perspective. Because Reiki takes you to your inner self. It takes you into your gifts, your abilities, your inner knowing. What's true for you about it all? That's its whole thing, is what is your truth for you? And then it can also take you to, speaking of the scarcity mindset for money, for health, all of those things. to abundance. You know, we work with the tree of life energy in animal Reiki, and all of you can access tree of life energy. You don't have to have taken animal Reiki for you to have access to that energy. Tree of life energy is as ancient as just about every spirituality on the earth. People have been working with tree of life energy through all the traditions, all the religions, back to Sumerian times. There are drawings of it back then. So that tree of life energy, when you really listen to it and you think about those roots growing into the ground and the branches reaching to the heavens, and you think about that stability of that, the above and the below, and the trunk is solid and strong, and the abundance of it. The tree of life, when you see it, is always has abundance with it. It feeds the people, it feeds the birds, it feeds the animals, and it, just takes us to that abundance idea. And we have been in the journeys, and the one that Robin's going to do today has, we go to the field of possibilities. So that's the other thing that Reiki does, is it moves you from problem solving into solution, but it also moves you into opportunity and possibilities. So it can actually shift your mindset. So anyway, we'll do some automatic writing for this, and these journeys, the ones that we've done last week, those are all always on our YouTube channel. We post this on our YouTube channel on Thursdays, both the discussion and the journey separately, so you can look at them. One thing any of you can do for us is subscribe to our YouTube channel. And the main thing that happens with that is that indicates to YouTube that more people want to know the content, so it spreads it to more people. And that's what we really are always working with, is how do we spread more of these resources to everyone, to ourselves too. So